Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from Reality Art Pod here for night 9 of the Survivor 50 Classic Episode Marathon. Tonight we're watching Survivor 46, Episode 8, titled Hide and Seek, keeping an eye on Season 50 players Charlie, Q, and Tiffany. If you like this video, you'll love my same day recaps of the Survivor 50 episodes, so consider liking, subscribing, and using my link to try Paramount Plus for free. But let's dive into it. Here's where we're at. Tiffany has Idalicia. She, Q, and Kenzie are the last 3 Yanus from their tribe. They just had a split tribe double elimination of Tim and Soda. Players from the first group return to camp after booting Tim. Ben is bummed that he lost his bromance, his gruesome twosome Tim. He cries about it in confessional, calling Tim his rock. Q wants to talk to Ben. He's annoyed that everyone is vibing and talking kiki funny when Q wants to be talking business. He wants to smooth over voting out Tim, who was in his 6-person alliance. He's tired of everyone kiki hee hee ya ya and not playing the game. The second group returns. Group 1 is shocked that Venus is still there. Venus fills everyone in that Tevin and Soda voted against her and calls out Tevin for lying to her all day and claiming to be all about honesty and integrity as Tevin stands there listening along. Tevin laughs in confessional about Venus taking credit for Soda's vote out, letting her take the glory for now, but knowing it was all his plan and he'll take credit for it in the end. Liz agrees with Tevin. She also seems to think voting Soda out was her idea and is annoyed with both Venus and Tevin for wanting credit for it. Liz tells us that Liz has a big ego and she's hating giving everyone credit for the move. Liz wants to start taking more action in the game. The next day at Noi Noi Beach, Q has an audience. Now that he's had some food, his brain is working and he's feeling inventive, so he invents the Q skirt, a backwards hoodie with the hood for storage, and does a whole Shark Tank pitch to anyone that'll hear it about his Q skirt. Charlie thinks Q is funny, but also a scary, well-connected player. Charlie tells us he does all of his strategizing at sunrise, including an early morning flashback conversation where he feels like he's interviewing for an alliance with Q. Q proposes the 6-person alliance with Q, Maria, Tiffany, Tevin, Hunter, and Charlie. Why wasn't this morning scene earlier in the episode? Perhaps in the morning? Who knows? Charlie tells us that while Maria likes the 6-person alliance, he doesn't like it himself, feeling like something will go awry, and that could mean his undoing in the game. Q is still feeling silly and wants the group to play hide and seek. Oop, they played the thing, and they do play hide and seek, with Q telling us this is really part of his game. While they play hide and seek, Q is analyzing the other players' hiding technique. Venus is doing the same, pointing out that Maria made this crafty headdress. She put some hay in her hair. Ben and Hunter win the game, with Hunter last to be found, hiding up in a tree above camp. All the people who are good at hiding, Q says, big mistake, especially Hunter. Venus asks Tevin to talk, trying to clear the air. He tells her he respects her move and lets her tell him all about how she came up with and executed the move that he believes he made, telling her it was a great move, but still making snarky facial expressions. Venus encourages Tevin to be more active in the game and tells us she doesn't believe Tevin is very in tune with what's going on. When she leaves, he rolls on the floor laughing. He tells Liz again that it was his move, which again annoys Liz. She wants him to shut up. Now Liz wants Tevin gone. On the beach, Tiffany suggests to Tevin they keep Venus around, feeling like she's more a nuisance than a threat to them, suggesting they take out a real threat. She doesn't mention any names, but Tevin runs back to Q, Maria, and Charlie, insinuating that Tiffany has basically turned on the 6 and wants to target people in the 6. Q talks to Tiffany. She tells Q she wants to target Ben or Maria. Maria's in the 6. Q says this is a big mistake. I agree. This was a big mistake because Q runs this back to Maria, telling her that Tiffany is coming for her and telling Maria that Tiffany has an idol. Q is clearly gunning hard for Tiffany at this point, so Tiffany has been evicted from the alliance as he spreads to the rest of the alliance that Tiffany is the target. In confessional, Q calls himself a mob boss, saying if you go against the organization, he'll send you packing. Players head to their immunity challenge where, sorry Kenzie and Maria, those thangs are back up for grabs. They'll be playing for one immunity necklace in a Survivor Classic, hanging on a pole. The last player hanging on their pole wins immunity and a spot in the final 9. But Jeff is in the mood for a stunt. He's craving negotiation, pulling out a big bag of rice for our hungry players, telling them that 4 players need to sit out to get the rice, or 2 people can agree to give up their vote. The big issue here is Jeff is not open to negotiation, which gives up the fun of the rice negotiation. Q and Liz volunteer to sit out, but they can't get to 4 players, and they don't get the rice. Jeff got what he deserved here, not negotiating with the players. Chekhov's rice means bad TV. They get started. Has anyone ever just not wanted to get on the poll? Like, if they had no chance. I don't want to break my legs and scrape my hoo-ha for no reason. Liz and Q are quickly out, followed by Kenzie right away, and Ben and Maria. Q continues to be pissed off as these players drop early. Tevin whistles like a bird and entertains Jeff. They call back to Jelinski's several being 7. Jeff says long live Jelinski. Long live Jelinski would mean having a first out season. I dare you, you cowards. Tiffany falls, followed by Songbird Tevin and Venus, leaving Hunter and Charlie as the last 2 hanging. The other players heckle Jeff from the bench. Jeff tells Q and Liz he would have beaten them in this challenge, and Q tells tells Jeff he's not getting a Q skirt. Charlie falls, but he falls joking with Jeff about Taylor Swift, and Hunter wins immunity, celebrating by hanging upside down, showing off unnecessarily. Hunter tells us his plan is to follow through on the Tiffany vote, feeling like there are enough votes to get it done. Players head back to camp, where the vibe is tense. Q is especially annoyed that everyone wanted to try the challenge against Hunter, who climbed a tree just earlier that day, telling them they can cancel Christmas if they think they can hang on there longer than Hunter. Q still wants to target Tiffany because she broke his rule and went against the alliance. Tevin is down for it too. Liz has other plans. She still wants Tevin gone, telling the others that Tevin orchestrated the move on Soda, so now he's got to go. This plan starts spreading from players not in the six, like Venus, Ben, Kenzie. It even gets back to Tiffany and she's down, especially because Tevin has an extra vote. Tiffany still trusts Q. She brings everything back to Q, telling him that everyone's voting for Tevin and he should too. Q asks Liz about it. She confirms that everyone except Hunter and Tevin are in on the plan. Q is disturbed. No one can keep a secret. Q tells Hunter that everyone's voting for Tevin. Hunter doesn't want to hear it, telling us he wants Tevin there because they made an alliance based off Andy Griffith. Hunter quickly wants to act and save Tevin, which makes Q regret telling Hunter about this. So Hunter goes to bat for Tevin, but it doesn't seem like anyone's taking Hunter seriously. Players are actually shocked to hear that Hunter's playing the game for the first time in general. Hunter wants them to go back to the original plan to vote Tiffany. Charlie and Maria are swing votes. At this point, Maria spills to Charlie that Tiffany has an idol. Charlie tells us the alliance of six is literally not real, and he and Maria are going to decide who goes home. So they head to Tribal, where juror Soda is waiting for them. Remember when Survivor fans bullied Soda as the season was airing? Justice for Soda. Jeff starts things off. He's still bitter that his rice negotiation was a flop. Q tells Jeff he had a temper tantrum back at camp because they could have taken the rice and eaten. Liz shares that she wanted the rice because she hasn't been able to eat coconut and hasn't gone to the restroom yet. It's episode 8 and Liz hasn't gone potty. This should be a bigger plot. Q announces to Jeff the only person who's going home is Q, asking everyone to vote for him. Jeff and the rest of the cast are confused. Q's reasoning is he basically doesn't want someone to go home because of a mistake he made. Players are baffled and whispering to each other. Q tells them to vote him out and start playing the game. Tevin is the only person who seems down to just let Q go. The Tribal erupts into chaos, players splitting into groups, some talking game, others being like, what's the matter with Q? In the ruckus, Charlie tells Tiffany that Q spilled the beans to he and Maria about her idol, which is the biggest revelation of the night. Q's attempted quit really meant that not much conversation was had at this Tribal other than about the rice and Q quitting, so players get to voting, with Kenzie and Ben both calling this Tribal dumb while they vote. When asked for advantages, none are played. In the end, there are 2 votes in that thing for Venus from Tevin and Hunter, and 8 votes for Tevin from everyone else. So Tevin's voted out here, one of the bigger personalities this season and the new era in general. He set a lot of the tone for this season, creating multiple memorable musical moments. He was very likable, though a bit immature, not the best strategist, turning on Soda as early as he did and not getting along with Venus contributed to their strong starter tribe falling apart at the merge and giving up their numbers advantage. With a few more years of life experience, I think he'd be a great player on a return. Checking in on our 50 players, starting with Charlie, who throughout this episode is the most checked in, level-headed player in the game. He gets roped into the 6-person alliance that isn't even a real alliance, with the leader in Q telling them that if they go against each other, they're cooked. So he's just in a weird spot, but in the end, he still gets all the information before Tribal and is in the spot to decide the outcome. He even must have convinced Maria not to target Tiffany, which seems to be what she wanted. So good episode for Charlie. He was never an option to go home and control the strategy, and got some Taylor Swift references in there for good measure. Next, Tiffany, who similar to Charlie was roped into this alliance. It's clear that she just doesn't want to be in it. And why would she want to be in an alliance that doesn't include Kenzie? That's never going to work. Up until this episode, she was playing a good game, but after everything Q was saying about going against the alliance, to go against the alliance, even so far in advance of Tribal, was unwise. That was messy play. Q did screw her over by spreading that she had an idol, and by the time of Tribal, she should have just played it to get the heat off her. Having that known idolicia would end up building her target bigger for no reason. And finally, Q, who soaked up a lot of screen time in this episode, from the Q skirt, the hide and seek, to the alliance and taking control of the strategy. It was a lot of Q. Not like I'm complaining, I find him entertaining and funny, but in the end, with great power comes great responsibility, and his game plan falling apart ruined other people's games, which caused him to feel guilty and genuinely asked to go home. I'm hoping we get some fun Q moments on 50, but I don't need him to be playing this mob boss, and hope he's just a regular player, which I think would be a sweet spot for him. He could be a good player if he's not trying to control the entire game and write the rules he thinks everyone should play by. After watching this episode, I really don't think Charlie or Tiffany will want to play with Q again. It's just too chaotic. But that's all I have to say about this episode. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this episode, the Tevin boot, and our 3 season 50 players. If you like this video, consider liking and subscribing. I'll be back tomorrow for the classic episode finale. We're going to season 48 and checking in on Joe, Camilla, and Kyle. Until then, you know where to find me. Bye.